Picture this. It's the year 1050, and you're a merchant in Venice holding a Byzantine gold coin, a solidus. For 700 years, this coin has been the most trusted currency in the world. It's maintained at 23 to 24 carats of pure gold, 95.8% to 99.5% purity, generation after generation. Byzantine gold is proverbial for its purity. The solidus is accepted from Russia to Persia to Sri Lanka. It's the dollar of the Middle Ages, the international currency that everyone wants, everyone trusts, everyone accepts. But in your hand, this particular coin feels wrong. You take it to a money changer, and he confirms your suspicion. This coin is only 87.5% gold. The Byzantine emperors have started debasing their currency. Within just 30 years, that debasement will accelerate to catastrophic levels. The solidus will fall from 87.5% gold to just 33% gold. International merchants will stop accepting it. The Venetians will create their own currency, the ducat, to replace it. And here's what should terrify every American. The Byzantine solidus lost its reserve currency status 249 years before Constantinople finally fell. The financial collapse preceded and guaranteed the political collapse. Hey, I'm Brandon, and welcome back to My Money Mint, the channel where I dive into topics related to money and wealth. All right, let's get into it. The story of the Byzantine solidus is one of the most important and most ignored lessons in financial history. Because it shows exactly how reserve currencies die, not from external conquest, but from self-inflicted debasement combined with military overreach and loss of productive capacity. Let me take you back to the 4th century and show you how the world's longest-lasting reserve currency was born. The solidus was introduced by Emperor Constantine in the early 4th century. It was struck at a rate of 72 coins to a Roman pound of gold, about 326.6 grams. Each coin weighed 24 Greco-Roman carats, or about 4.5 grams of gold per coin. In theory, the solidus was struck from pure gold. In practice, the limits of medieval refining techniques meant coins were usually about 23 carats fine, 95.8% gold purity. But that standard was maintained for centuries. The solidus was essentially unaltered in weight, dimensions, and purity until the 10th century. Byzantine gold was proverbial for its purity until that time. Why did merchants everywhere prefer the solidus? Because they could trust it. A Byzantine gold coin from Constantinople was worth the same as one from Alexandria or Antioch. The weight was consistent, the purity was reliable, and the Byzantine Empire's power guaranteed that standard. From the 4th until the 11th century, the solidus earned the unofficial title of the dollar of the Middle Ages. It was the international coin. In the 5th and 6th centuries, Byzantine solidi accumulated in the Baltic area in payment for furs. In the 6th and 7th centuries, slightly lighter weight solidi were hoarded in France, the Low Countries, Scandinavia, Germany, the Balkans, Russia, the Levant, and North Africa. Byzantine coins have turned up in places as far-flung as Russia, Persia, and Sri Lanka. This wasn't just regional dominance. This was global currency status. The Byzantine Empire, at its peak under Justinian I from 527 to 565, covered much of the land surrounding the Mediterranean Sea, including what is now Italy, Greece, Turkey, portions of North Africa, and the Middle East. Constantinople was the hub of international trade. Its geographic situation assured control of the Black Sea and maritime routes between Syria, Egypt, and Western Europe. The gold solidus remained a standard of international commerce through all of this. Until the 11th century, the fineness of the gold remained consistent at about 95.5% to 98%. But then came the disasters that would destroy everything. Byzantium went through catastrophic times starting in the 7th century. The Persians invaded Syria, Palestine, and Egypt, and repeatedly raided Asia Minor. The Arabs penetrated North Africa. The Visigoths conquered Byzantine possessions in Spain. The Lombards did likewise in Italy. Slavic peoples occupied large parts of the Balkans. With all these different incursions, the Eastern Roman Empire was reduced by 2/3. The Arab conquests led to the loss of the empire's richest provinces, Egypt and Syria, to the Rashidun Caliphate. In 698, Africa was lost to the Umayyad Caliphate. These losses had drastic impacts on the economy. Egypt was the grain supply for Constantinople. Syria was enormously productive. North Africa was wealthy. These were the tax revenue engines of the empire. The circulation of Byzantine coins was reduced to Asia Minor and parts of Greece and Italy. Some mints fell into enemy hands. Others had to be closed following reduced demand for Byzantine money. The empire was bleeding territory, losing productive provinces, and facing enemies on multiple fronts. And that meant one thing: massive military spending with shrinking tax revenues. The emperors faced an impossible choice: raise taxes on a diminished population, borrow money they couldn't repay, or debase the currency. They chose debasement. The gold solidus began to be debased under successive emperors beginning in the 1030s, under Emperor Romanos Argyros from 1028 to 1034. Michael IV, the Paphlagonian, a former money changer who knew exactly what he was doing, assumed the throne in 1034 and began the slow process of debasing the currency. At first, the debasement was gradual, but then it accelerated. The solidus fell to about 21 carats, 87.5% pure gold, during the reign of Constantine IX Monomachos from 1042 to 1055. It dropped to 18 carats, 75% gold, under Constantine Zebedee from 1059 to 1067, down to 16 carats, 66.7%, under Romanos IV Diogenes from 1068 to 1071. Then 14 carats, 58%, under Michael VII Ducas from 1071 to 1078. And catastrophically to just 8 carats, 33% gold, under Nikephoros, the third Botaniats, from 1078 to 1081. By the beginning of the reign of Alexios I Komnenos in 1081, the composition had fallen to a low point of about 30% gold. Think about what this means. In just 36 years, from 1042 to 1078, the solidus went from 87.5% gold to 33% gold. The currency that had maintained its standard for 700 years collapsed in a single generation. International merchants stopped accepting Byzantine coins. Why would you accept payment in currency that loses half its value every few years? The trust that had taken centuries to build was destroyed in decades. In 1092, Emperor Alexios I tried to reform the coinage. He eliminated the solidus altogether and introduced a new gold coin called the hyperpyron nomisma at about 20.5 carats fine, 85% gold. But it was too late. The trust was gone. Merchants remembered the debasement. They knew Byzantine emperors couldn't be relied upon to maintain standards. And then came the final blow. In April 1204, the Fourth Crusade, which was supposed to be going to Egypt to fight Muslims, instead sacked Constantinople. What followed was one of the most profitable and disgraceful sacks of a city in history. Despite their oaths and the threat of excommunication, the Crusaders ruthlessly and systematically violated the city's holy sanctuaries, destroying, defiling, or stealing everything they could. Emperor Alexios III had managed to flee with 1,000 pounds of gold and some priceless jewels, leaving the imperial treasury empty. After the city's sacking, most of Byzantine Empire's territories were divided among the Crusaders. The restored empire never managed to reclaim all its former territory or attain its earlier economic strength. The weight, dimensions, and purity of the hyperpyron nomisma had remained relatively stable until the sack of Constantinople. After that, the exiled empire of Nicaea continued to strike a debased hyperpyron. In the 14th century, debased gold coins ranged between just 11 and 15 carats. Michael VIII Palaiologos recaptured Constantinople in 1261, but the Byzantine Empire continued striking debased coins until John V Palaiologos and John VI struck the final Byzantine gold coins from 1347 to 1354. Constantinople didn't fall to the Ottomans until 1453, but the solidus had lost its reserve currency status back in the 1200s, about 249 years earlier. The financial collapse preceded and guaranteed the political collapse. So, what replaced the Byzantine solidus as the world's reserve currency? The Venetian ducat. In the 13th century, Venice imported goods from the east and sold them at a profit north of the Alps. They paid for these goods with Byzantine hyperpera, but when Byzantine Emperor Michael VIII Palaiologos backed the revolt of the Sicilian Vespers in 1282, he debased the hyperpyron even further. The Great Council of Venice responded by creating their own coin of pure gold in 1284, the ducat. The Venetian ducat contained 3.545 grams of 99.47% fine gold, the highest purity medieval metallurgy could produce. It was more pure and more consistent than Byzantine coins had ever been. Florence had already introduced the gold florin in 1252 with 3.5 grams of 98.6% fine gold. But the Venetian ducat clearly superseded the florin in the 15th century as the international currency par excellence. In the 15th and 16th centuries, international traders in Western Europe shifted from the florin to the ducat as their preferred currency. The lesson is clear. When a reserve currency loses credibility through debasement, competitors quickly fill the vacuum with superior alternatives. Now, if you've been watching previous videos on this channel, you know I've taught extensively about patterns of imperial decline, debt spirals, and reserve currency collapse. I've covered the Ottomans, the Soviets, the British Empire, and more. So I'll keep the modern comparison brief. But the parallels to the US dollar are impossible to ignore. The Byzantine solidus was debased from 24 carats to 8 carats over 80 years, 1034 to 1118. The US dollar went from gold-backed 1944 to 1971 to pure fiat currency, with trillions printed since 2008. Byzantine Empire fought wars on multiple fronts against Persians, Arabs, Bulgars, Normans, and Seljuks. The USA maintains 800-plus military bases, with wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and proxy conflicts globally. Byzantium lost control of Mediterranean trade to Italian city-states. The USA is losing trade dominance as China becomes the largest trading partner for most nations through Belt and Road. Byzantium lost Egypt, Syria, and North Africa, their richest, most productive provinces. The USA has lost its manufacturing base, become the world's largest debtor nation, and runs massive trade deficits. The Venetian ducat and Florentine florin replaced the solidus. Today, we're seeing yuan internationalization, BRICS currency initiatives, and potential CBDC alternatives to the dollar. The Byzantine debasement took about 80 years from first debasement to near-worthless currency. The US left the gold standard in 1971, 54 years ago as of 2025. The pattern is the same, the timeline is similar, and the outcome? Well, history suggests it's not good. The key lesson from Byzantine history isn't just that reserve currencies can collapse, it's that they collapse long before the empire itself falls. Reserve currency status disappeared around 1204. Constantinople fell in 1453, 249 years later. The financial collapse preceded and guaranteed the eventual political collapse. The Byzantine experience shows that reserve currencies die from self-inflicted debasement to fund military overreach, loss of productive economic capacity to competitors, multiple simultaneous military commitments draining the treasury, and trust, once lost, that never fully returns even after reforms. Once international merchants found better alternatives in the Venetian ducat and Florentine florin, they never went back to Byzantine coins, even after attempted reforms. The solidus had maintained its standard for 700 years. Then it was debased over just 80 years, and once the trust was gone, it could never be rebuilt. 700 years of credibility, destroyed in less than a century. That's the power and the fragility of reserve currency status. Thank you for watching my Money Mint. Let me know in the comments if you like the captions I have in my videos, or would you rather me get rid of them?